Oh, we didn't even mention the suicide bomber in the beginning. When the chick put on the backpack, I was like, oh, she's a bomber. And then you just saw someone running with a flag and it blows up the crowd.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I think I was ordering my food when that happened, to tell you the truth.
Were you not in the chair? You were like, not.
No. Like, we were in the dine-in theater, and I think the dude... Like, that's the whole thing. That's my one problem. Like, when I go to our dine-in theater, like, there's this one guy who's named Diego, who's fucking phenomenal. Like, Diego at Cinemark, Playa Vista, in the fucking reserve level, you are a fucking god. Like, he comes in, he, like, gets down on one knee, he's, like, super quiet, he, like, looks to check if he's out of your view. Like, this one dude is, like, standing right in front of me, I'm like, get the fuck out of my way, dude. Like, fucking lean down. Like, get down on your fucking knees so you're not blocking everyone's fucking view. Diego needs to fucking train everyone in that fucking place. Like, anyways, so.
I see Diego. I always think of Billy Madison. Do you remember Billy Madison with Steve Buscemi? He calls him. He's like, apologize to everyone he's ever like fucked over.
Right.
And he's like, oh, it's okay, man. Thanks. And he like crosses Billy off his kill list.
Then
he starts to put on lipstick.
Yeah.
Diego just did that. Diego just heard you and just crossed you off his kill list.
In a world of bad movies, two follically challenged men will stop at nothing to share their opinions of them. Their wives are tired of listening. But are you? This isn't the podcast you deserve, but it's the one you need. Prepare yourself for Bald Guys and Bad Movies.
Welcome to Bald Guys and Bad Movies, episode 79. I am Troy. Here with my good buddy,
Mike Stella.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm finishing my breakfast sandwich. Well,
look at
almost
you.
lunch sandwich.
Yeah, I had a breakfast sandwich myself. I've discovered. Have you seen The Bear?
Mm-hmm.
She makes an omelet with boursin cheese. I'll make like a little 1-egg omelet, put some boursin in it, put it in the croissant, maybe throw a little bacon on it. Dude, it is fucking fire.
Oh, really?
Like, fire, bro. Like,
any other bear-inspired dishes that you've whipped up?
No, not really.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a can of tomato sauce with 5K in it.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice. If I could find that, that'd be even better.
Where do you stand on chewing, Mike? Does chewing bother you when people chew?
Depends.
I'm chewing right now.
So,
am I pissing off viewers by chewing?
I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends. Like, if you're just chewing and like it makes a sound here and there, it's one thing. But if you're like sound like a fucking horse. Like, I knew this one guy, he was the slowest eater in the world, and he would just smack every fucking bite, and he ate so slowly that it just lasted forever. I wanted to fucking chuck him out a window, dude. He fucking drove me crazy.
Is it smacking? Is it wet smacking?
It's just the way he would do it. There was something about it. But generally speaking, it doesn't normally bother me unless I'm actively thinking about it, and then maybe it starts bothering me. But no, it doesn't bother me too much usually.
Well, lucky for you, it's the last bite.
Wonderful. Lucky for our listeners.
The last bite before I ask you, what are we reviewing this week, Mike?
This week, we are reviewing Civil War.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
I guess aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America.
The so-called Western forces of Texas and California
Have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
We're moving to D.C. today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death.
Flooded.
Every time I survived a war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Now, the twist ending when Cap came back, that was amazing.
Yeah. Nice.
I must say. Civil War is a 2024 dystopian thriller war film directed and written by Alex Garland. In the story, a team of journalists travel across the United States during a rapidly escalating Second American Civil War, which has engulfed the nation. The ensemble cast includes Kirsten Dunst. I'm fucking old, dude.
I know. She looks old as shit, dude.
I literally remember watching her as a little girl in the theater for Interview with a Vampire.
I remember being the same age as her when I saw her in fucking Interview with a Vampire and thinking she was just gorgeous and having the biggest crush on her.
Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Sonia Mizuno, and Nick Offerman. We didn't get enough of Nick Offerman, in my opinion.
No, we didn't. Well, let's get into it because I got some interesting takes.
Too.
I mean,
okay. Would you recommend it? Would you recommend Civil War?
Absolutely. I really liked it. I highly recommend. It was way different than I expected it to be, for better or for worse. It's weird. It's like not nearly as divisive as I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Anyone can watch this, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, and be like, that's a fucking awesome movie, and scary either direction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. Highly recommend. Definitely worth a watch.
I watched an interview of Alex Garland. I think it was on the Daily Show, actually. And he said that this movie, although it's set in America, is not about America.
It really isn't just America. It's set in America, but this situation exists in my country and in many European countries, the Middle East and Asia and South America. And I chose America because everybody looks to America.
Right.
But the things it's talking about are quite global.
It could be set in the UK. It could be set in anywhere. It is really just about Civil War. It follows these photojournalists, and it's from their perspective. So, in a weird way, it feels like a small film in the middle of a really big story. You never get into the nuts and bolts of why they're fighting, and I think that's wise.
It's very wise, actually. You're not alienating anyone.
You clear out the white noise of us versus them, and you get right down to humanity destroying one another over bullshit.
Exactly. And how stupid it is. I actually think it's a wonderful film for right now. Mm-hmm. And if everyone watches it, I feel like it's something that can really kind of dial down the rhetoric. I feel like if you watch this, you no longer, well, maybe not immediately and maybe not like extremely, but I think you're going to stop seeing a lot of people as us versus them.
There's no glory in this.
There is no glory in it. And you realize that, like, these arguments that we have, they're stupid. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to go out there and kill your fellow man? Someone who, just because you don't have the exact same beliefs as them? That's awful. And to see it like this, you can see how awful it is. And the fact that it takes place in America is so helpful, I feel like, for society at large.
And there's one, probably the most harrowing scene in the movie. Before we get into spoilers, but, it involves xenophobia. But that could happen anywhere. It feels specific to America, but not really, right? That scene was probably the closest, without naming names and saying, political affiliations, to something that felt like, okay, this is an American thing. But I follow UK politics, and I know it's not exclusive to America. Xenophobia is just, everywhere. Like, the UK is maybe 4-5 steps behind us in terms
Germany has a lot of that shit going on. Like, a lot of places do.
And a lot of our political movements are supported by folks in the UK. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So what you said earlier is true. Some people I've talked to didn't want to see it because it's like I see enough of that shit on the news. I'm already worried. But it's not that at all. Like,
not at all. Not at all. It's not what you think it is. In fact, I went to see it because I wanted it to be that. Mm-hmm. And I left leaving like this was a better movie for not having that in it.
Because I think if he did, Alex Garland lean into if he put his finger right on the nose of the political disparity, then brains would shut down.
Exactly. People are going to shut down. They're going to automatically clam up, you know?
Person that made this had an agenda. His only agenda is humanity stop.
Yeah.
Stop killing one another.
Start looking at each other as your fellow man and someone that you need to think about. Like, people have different views for a reason, and even if you can't necessarily agree with them, like, it's not worth either of us killing each other over, you know?
Now, that said, there were a few things that bugged me, but not enough to not recommend. And some of the things that bugged me, it really depends on your temperament and your tolerance level of why the fuck are they doing that. And it felt very, I don't know how much of a fan you are of Apocalypse Now, but at times it felt like Apocalypse Now in terms of not just the score, because sometimes the instrumental score was a little off center. It was a little weird and unsettling. But there were moments where it was quiet and you could just see them reacting to the world not at war. Like, I liked how, I don't know if you picked up on this, there are a lot of scenes where nature, like, the world continues on.
Yeah.
Earth will be here after we fucking destroy one another.
Yep.
On a beautiful day, something horrific can be happening right under the sun. The beautiful landscape of America juxtaposed with hanging bodies.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we see those images in other countries and their landscape is so foreign to us, it doesn't feel real, you know?
And also, you know, it's like the people don't look, you know what I mean? It's not like, it doesn't look like me, you know what I mean? It doesn't look like the people I see on a daily basis. So it's easy to disconnect.
And say, that'll never happen here.
That'll never happen here, where, why not? Yeah, it could absolutely happen here.
Kirsten Dunst had a really great line near the beginning when she said, I went around the world taking war photos, hoping it would warn people. And here I am taking war photos. And what was all that? I'm murdering the quote, but
I think she said something along the lines of, you know, I went around the world to all these war zones to show people here to hopefully keep it from happening here. And she's like, and now it didn't, you know, it still happened here.
So let's get into it. Spoilers ahead. Please do not listen beyond this point. If you haven't seen the movie, you have any desire to see it, you should see it. You should experience it. You should go to a theater to see it, I think. Yeah, it's not a fun movie by any chance, but it's a thought-provoking movie.
And it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. Like, I saw it at 8:15 at night and did not doze once.
No laundry. Well, no laundry is possible, but not needed.
No laundry meter.
So some of my thoughts, because it's a lot to ingest. So a lot of things that I thought about later, while I watched the movie and experienced it, and enjoy it feels like the wrong word, I thought it was very compelling, right? But then afterwards, a few little things, not major, kind of was like, maybe it could have been a better way for that. And then a few, why the fuck is that happening? So I'll start with the very mundane. Their use of helmets was very scattershot.
Yeah.
Like there's a middle moment of the film where they just are following militia. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, you can assume that the people in the army fatigues are the U.S. government, but which part of the U.S. government, right? It like there's no real way. I guess people in civies, you don't know because you don't know.
Yeah.
Why they're fighting.
The shootout with the guys. The shootout with the guys in the fucking
Hawaiian shirts and fucking, you know, brawny man shirts. Oh, that scene, it's like they made it for me. They dropped a De La song. Say No Go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I was like, oh, shit, fucking De La Soul. And I was fucking jamming out, dude.
And I was thinking, that's some shit I would do.
You know what I thought to myself? I was like, Troy's going to fucking love this.
Oh, yeah. I totally did, dude. And it was such a nice contrast. That particular song with the visuals of them, like, you know, executing their captive people. But yeah, in that fight, they had like their SWAT vests on or, you know, their Kevlar helmets. And then mainly for the final conflict, which involved fucking tanks and airstrikes, they had no fucking helmets. It was completely illogical.
I mean, it was weird.
And I don't know why they made that choice in the film. And then the other part of it, they came across some photojournalist who was like embedded with the unit, the army unit, and probably had like permission. But then they would just show up, the characters we're following, they would show up in the middle of a fucking battle and these guys would be okay with it. like getting in the way of their shit, like snapping photos while they're trying to save their comrade. And more so at the end. At the end, again, spoilers, they storm the White House and they're going to go kill the president. And these fucking photojournalists, especially the young girl, she's all like getting in the way and they having like save her, push her back. Part of me is like, would they put up with this? Like, get the fuck out of here before I kill you. Like, it's already like a world where there's leadership, but there's a lot of roguery going on. And that's a high tense situation. I don't know. It just...
No, I kind of agree with that, but I also wonder if it has something to do with the fact that in this war, they want people to see. They want to make sure people know that he's dead. They want to see what has happened. So, I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it, but you do have a point. I mean, there's definitely that argument to behold.
The sitting president kills journalists, so it would have been nice if there was a line, like midway of the film, we don't kill journalists. We want you motherfuckers to show the world what's happening or something.
Sure.
Some kind of throwaway line.
Take 5 seconds to throw that sucker in there. You know what I mean?
Right. That would give purpose and reason and why they want them with them, right? Or they don't mind it. So
absolutely. One thing I will say was interesting to me. You know, you go into it and you see the Western forces, like Texas and California have banded together. You're kind of like, how the fuck would that ever be the case?
But I think that's
exactly that's what I was going to say. It's a very smart thing they did because they were showing you this has nothing to do with the conflict that's happening in our country right now.
You can't say, oh, California, no fucking wonder. But then you throw Texas in there like, what?
Exactly. So they chose California and Texas together, like,
and then they mentioned Florida was trying to do its own thing.
Florida was like its own outlying state. But I thought that was really smart because you go into it and we were all just like California and Texas, okay. And then once we get into the movie, we realize this has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with how horrible a civil war would be if it happened on our soil. So I thought it was a great idea.
And it's also a practical thing. Like the two biggest states, they would impose a threat.
Absolutely.
If they succeeded and joined.
Well, and if they were able to actually get control of the armies that they have in in the states. And that's my one thing that I'll suspend disbelief with that, because I truly think it would be really hard for states to actually secede from the nation, because none of our states have their own armies. You know what I mean? We don't have a state militia. We have a federal army who is controlled at a federal level.
What is National Guard, right? Each state, or...
It's National Guard.
I know, but they're based,
but they're still a federal program.
Well, it's like with militia. Like, there's a lot of Americans that have been trained in war. So if they wanted to just pull together all, like, people in the army,
I know.
You know.
Still don't have the resources. They're still older. A lot of them have, like, you know, not seen true combat. They just gone to they've done a lot of camping with guns. You know what I mean? And like, that
kind of leads to one of my other observations. I wish the film. The one guy, Joel, was he Joel? Which is weird. Because the young photographer, she looked like an Ellie to me.
Yeah, right.
But poor man's Pedro Pascal, he was actually really good.
He's good in everything. He played Pablo Escobar in Narcos.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah, right, and he was a little heavier.
Yeah, I think he was heavier. They put a fat suit on him or something.
Oh, did they? Okay. So he's basically a journalist. Correct.
He, I believe, is kind of like their producer. Like, he's like the wartime producer. He's the one who gets all the rooms, handles all the logistics, you know. He doesn't do the actual, like, doesn't take the pictures. But I don't think he was like a writing journalist. I think he was just like the facilitator. You know what I mean?
But there were questions he wanted to ask the president. Like, the whole point of the movie is they think the president's about to fall. They want to be the first on site to get an interview.
And I thought that would have helped to kind of like outline what his role in it was, because it didn't seem to me like he was an actual like journalist. He seemed like he was their producer. You know what I mean?
Well, what if the film I felt was missing? You have pictures, but you didn't have any testimonials from any citizen on ground. And, you know, I get it. That's not really the story, but it kind of is the story. in a way. Like I felt like it would have given him a bit more purpose as just him trying to bone the young up and coming photographer. I don't know if you gleaned that, but I think he was, you know, I think that's probably why he let her come. There was some attraction there.
I didn't catch that.
And then I felt like, I don't know if it was in the scene with the hats when they were trying on dress. I kind of got an attraction vibe there, but maybe I'm jumping at shadows between Kirsten Dunst and her.
I didn't notice it.
But she definitely looked up to her. So yeah, it would have been nice if we had just a few moments, like when they're in one of the camps. I'm talking seconds of him speaking to someone like commenting on the state of everything. You could do that without getting too political. I guess it's not even critique, but most of the bullshit they get into is because this young photojournalist, Jesse, fucking gets in danger and basically they have to rescue her. Like the first time is when she drifts away at the gas station and there's some yokel who, I don't know, I got rapey vibes.
Oh, yeah, you think?
And Kirsten Dunst had to kind of go over there. Okay. It was a weird tone sometimes because, and it's not really a criticism, like a negative criticism, because they came to a town where, and I think this is true, some people just put their heads in the sand. Like, and there was a town where it looked almost completely normal, but then they had snipers on the roof, right? So even though they're staying out of it, it's not completely normal. They do have to like watch out for shit.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, out of interest, but are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
Oh, sure. But we just try to stay out.
Stay out.
With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Yeah.
Well, let me know if you want to try anything on.
And then there's like little random moments, like with the two GIs pinned down by some dude in a mansion.
What's going on?
Someone in that house. They're stuck. We're stuck.
In a strange way, the movie felt very, even though they were in the midst of it, there was a huge distance between the conflict. What we said earlier that we liked, he didn't get into the politics of it. But part of me feels like maybe they went a little too far with that in terms of...
You think so?
Well, I don't want to know why they're fighting. I'm not saying that...
Right.
But it felt... This is what I said before. The movie felt is a very small story and a very big conflict.
Right.
And there's so many elements, so many tangents that, you know, if they go down that road, there's a moment, right, that they could cover. Instead of just that moment with the snipers and then it's like a 5-minute scene, they leave them. What if they pick up a GI and that guy starts talking about some fucking conflict he was in or whatever? Like, the movie felt anchored on this little photojournalist, Jesse, getting in fucking trouble. Like when there was a moment where a buddy showed up in a car and they're like having a blast.
Steve, I'm done with Bohai. He's lousy company. He drives like a maniac. Shoot him up. Dude, what are you doing? I'm going over to your car. Just keep the car steady. Don't worry, I've done this before.
Like they're racing each other. He jumps through his window to their car and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it too.
I gotta do it. What? I'm doing it. Jesus, me? Don't turn the wheel.
And then they drive off and they get caught by was he an army guy or was he rogue militia? We don't even know.
I think that's one of the things that they wanted to touch on, was that you never really know who these people are. Like, there's no clear cut way to tell who you're dealing with, whether or not they are rogue militia, whether or not they're actual army or whatever. And that makes it even scarier, right? It's just some dude with a gun.
Now, Jesse Plemons plays this guy, and it's probably the most suspenseful, creepiest moment in the film.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you?
She gets captured by his character and a couple of his boys.
And they're like throwing lye onto a mass grave. It's just, and they have them like kneeling down in front of the grave, and it's pretty tense. I will say that.
And he's asking, what kind of American are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, they're like, we're American. And he's like, well, what kind of American are you? And they're just like, you don't know what to answer. You know what I mean?
And just to show he means business, he asked that question, no one answers. So he shoots the driver that she was in the car with, Jesse. And it's basically an interrogation. Where are you from? And this is probably the closest to, without naming names and affiliations, this felt like this is what would happen. I hate to say it.
Right.
I mean, I know I'm watching fiction, but I've envisioned this in my mind 1,000 times. If particular people gain control, extreme fringes. And I know people love to say there's extremes on both sides. There's an extreme in thinking and there's an extreme in action. And one side takes action a little bit more than one side.
There are extremes on both sides, but one extreme like delves into the realm of I want to kill everyone who isn't like me. And the other one is I just want everyone to live their own life and not have to be subject to other people telling them what to do.
Well, that's the middle ground. The other extreme is, well, I don't like this, so the whole world must change their mind about this. It's that forcing. And for some issues, yeah, that's fine. But then others, Blade's best quote.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Pick your fights. Pick your battles. You can't always get what you want. You get what you need sometimes. So in any event, and then he gets to the Japanese gentleman. He's like, I'm from Hong Kong. Oh, China. And he shoots him. This is what would happen.
Right.
I'm 100% like, and that was chilling. So yeah, there's moments like that. There's great little moments like that. But again, every predicament they got in, for the most part, and then at the end, and this is a huge, huge, huge spoiler, when they storm the White House. And by this point, Jesse, she's
kind of come into her own as a photojournalist, I would say.
I had a lively conversation with a friend of mine. She fucking hated this fucking movie.
Really?
And the main reason why is it's the young white woman they gotta always protect. And she just didn't buy the fact that someone would be that fucking stupid to always walk into danger, like openly, right? But my argument against that is, I think the goal of the film is Jessie represents Kirsten Dunst's character probably when she was first starting out.
Exactly. I mean, it's obvious. Like,
she's innocence, right?
Yeah.
And she alluded to the fact that her parents, or Oklahoma, I forget where, Missouri, they're looking the other way. They're pretending none of this is happening.
Right, exactly.
And I took it as she's not too far removed from that area, that situation. And now she's venturing on her own. She's admired photojournalism, and Kirsten Dunst in particular is one of her heroes. But she's fucking naive. She doesn't know.
Right.
I think a lot of people, like if shit were to pop off now, there's a lot of Gen Z. I mean, let's face it, we'd all be unprepared. I don't give a shit how prepared you think you are.
Well, that's the whole thing. The scariest part is like the worst people are the ones who would be prepared. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's the scariest part of this whole thing is like any normal person, any person who goes about their daily life would not be prepared. But the crazy motherfuckers who want to kill everyone who's not like them, they're the ones who would be ready for it. It's awful. It's pretty fucking awful.
Actually, she said, I'm tired of movies where they always got to say the young white pussy. That's her direct quote. So there you go. By the time they get to the White House, she's been through a lot and she's fucking in it, right? She said there's a line with Kirsten Dunst where I never been so afraid but felt so alive.
Right.
And that's the reason why I assume Kirsten Dunst went around the world, but she's older, seasoned, she's seen conflict. And she is the reason why Kirsten Dunst gets killed, basically, because she's jumping around trying to snap the photo, and Kirsten jumps in the way to save her. And she dies. And it's actually...
We all knew that Kirsten Dunst was going to die in this movie. I knew she was going to die from the moment the movie started.
Yeah. Why do you think she kept going?
Kirsten Dunst?
Yeah.
Inertia.
So you think it's just, well, this is what I do?
That's what she does. Inertia, dude.
Yeah.
Just like Walter White said when Jesse asked him, why did we keep using this horrible, shitty, broken down fucking Winnebago? Like, why didn't we, we had money. We could have gotten something that was in better shape. And he's just like, inertia.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it, because sometimes just doing the thing you know how to do is, it's either do that or ball up in the corner.
Exactly.
Right?
And you're not going to do that. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing that again, the film does really well. Life goes on and people adapt. You know, like there's like these encampments with, I guess, unhoused citizens and there's children playing, and big chunks of America look kind of normal, right? Yeah. I mean, there may be a blown out house here and there, and then there's pockets of the freeway where it's like cars. You know, a lot of films, if it's going for like the visceral action, like everywhere you turn is a crumbling building, but it's not really like that.
And I think that was smart.
It's even more unsettling.
Exactly. And I mean, it's smart to do it that way because it feels more grounded in reality. I mean, they're not going to blanket bomb an entire fucking area. They're going to go for the one or two houses they think have insurgents in it.
Now, here's probably the only other. It's a weird critique because I thought what they did was perfect, but I also kind of wished they did something a bit different. So I said, this is Apocalypse Now. I was getting that, whether right or wrong.
Okay.
And their version of Kurtz is the president, basically. Right. He is, from what I gathered, let's just face it, he's fucking Trump. Or Trump-ish. All right? Sorry, folks. They never flat out say it. But killing journalists, there are some things that we did glean from the president that feels very Trumpy.
I mean, I felt that way, but at the same time, I felt like they did a good job to kind of stay away from that. And I think staying away from that was probably the smartest thing they could have done.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. What I thought was going to happen, because there's a good moment where Kirsten is breaking apart in the midst of this assault on the White House. You know, there's bombs blowing up, and she's finally kind of just cracking up. But she gets her wits, and I took it as, I want to talk to the motherfucker that started this all. Right. There's a decoy presidential
motorcade.
Yeah, they shoot that thinking that he's in there, but he's really not. And I thought that right away. He's not in that fucking thing. Why would you do that? She's like, he's still in there. So they go in the White House. They go in there to interview him. I thought they were going to find him, like cowering somewhere, and they're going to able to have a little bit of a conversation with the guy. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit of information, you know, and I thought it did a good job of not alienating anybody, but it still made it a little hit home a little less. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I would have liked to have that conversation. But I understand why he decided not to.
Right.
I think it's a much more accessible film with him not having a conversation talking about. But I also think they could have done, I mean, you know, write it in a way where none of that stuff comes through. You know what I mean?
You subvert expectations.
Exactly.
So when you find him, I could even see he's not even saying anything political. Whether he's the cause or not, he's still a human.
Exactly.
He's still at the end of his rope. He knows this is it. And maybe he talks about one of the best days of his life. You know, his mother used to pick him up from school and make him cookies. I don't know. Like he's in his own head, right? And that could have been a nice moment because she's expecting the boogeyman, and what she gets is still a coward, but this guy who's actually talking about something very relatable, right?
One time I had this amazing whore. She was
like, if he was a mirror of her,
right,
that would have been a nice jarring thing where they're both tired and broken. But they didn't do that. There's 1,000 ways they could have played it. You're right. But instead, which I do like this because it is in a succinct way.
It's accessible, dude. It is fully accessible to anyone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I would actually like to hear from someone who saw this movie, who's like I'd like to know what like a diehard Trump supporter thinks about this movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm really interested in their take on it because I feel like they're just going to automatically have, like, you know, one of those guys that I'm worried about, you know, like one of those guys with all the guns, you know what I mean? Like, that's who I want to hear. Like, what is their take on this film, you know?
Unfortunately, I didn't read any reviews of this because I wanted to go in, you know, cold.
Sure.
But I did look at like some Reddit comments of people who've seen it. They'll find a way. Like, this guy was like, oh, you know, those wokies going to be upset because it's not taken aside.
Oh.
He's basically saying what we're saying, but he's framing it in,
right,
those fucking assholes on the other side won't like it because your head is so far up your hateful ass.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You can't even like see the hypocrisy of what you're saying. You're missing the whole point of this film by doing that. So
it's a shame.
That was just one jabroni.
You're right.
And people will find a way.
There's always going to be some assholes, and there are absolutely people on the left who are going to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And and I get it. I get why they would feel that way, but I don't think they really. Again, they also aren't getting the point of this.
Some of the negative reviews. So once I saw it, prepare for this, I did read some reviews and wanted to see what the most negative ones. And it was because the thing that we like about it is the thing they dislike. Garland, he avoids the political reasons why, and it made the film feel hollow and shallow or too afraid to address. But that wasn't his intention.
Exactly. If that was his intention, he would have done that.
Right.
But he didn't do that because he wanted people to. I think he just wanted to highlight the horror of war.
My main critique, which I think they could have done better, was not have Jesse always be the catalyst of why they were getting in some bullshit. Because there's enough bullshit going on that you didn't have to do that. It made me dislike her by the end, especially when she got Kirsten Dunst killed. And if there hadn't been 2 other scenarios where her dumbass put herself in jeopardy, I wouldn't have felt like, you motherfucker. Right? I mean, I didn't hate her, but I didn't really like her either, right?
Right. I didn't really like her that much. I mean, I think that's a very good point. Like, I didn't dislike her, but I didn't like her. You know what I mean? Like, she was just kind of, She was
a plot device in a way.
Yeah.
Like, this is why. And you didn't need to do that. You could have had those militia guys stop them without her being a dumbass and jumping in the car. And
absolutely.
Having to save her. You could keep the scene where she's almost going to get possibly raped. But the 2 major points where there's death in their company revolve her being reckless.
Right.
And doing some stupid shit. And I don't think the film needed that at all. You could still have her character be who she is. And this is the thing. You can try to do the right thing in this world and try to be careful, and you can still get fucked up.
Absolutely. And that would have been way more poignant. You know what I mean?
And that's way more scary.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely it is.
You're being as careful as possible, treading as lightly as possible, but still you break a tripwire. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Metaphorically. So if there's a flaw, I think that was the main flaw for me. Doesn't stop me from liking a movie.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I felt like the potential rape scene, like the scene with the car wash, was pretty useful. Like, I liked it because she wasn't directly. And my whole thing is, I actually didn't mind the fucking mass grave scene either, because I felt like she was just playing around, and then next thing you know, like, I mean, yeah, I didn't feel like she was being too dumb in that, you know what I mean, in that situation. She was being a kid. She was being, like, living her life, and then this shit happened, as opposed to, and I guess it didn't really.
Well, if you look at them individually, they're fine.
Right.
It's when you look at it as totality, when the movie's done, everything bad or almost bad that happened.
Did you think about this in the movie, or did you think was this after the fact thing?
I think especially by the end, she's gonna fucking get Kirsten Dunst killed. I know.
Right.
I mean, you saw it too.
Well, I mean,
right?
I knew Kirsten Dunst was gonna die, like, period. And I mean, I knew she was gonna die from the get-go. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. The moment they introduce this new young journalist and she says, she starts talking about how, like, she was just like her when she was young. I'm like, well, Kirsten Dunst is going to die,
Well, that's unfortunate, but it would have been a left turn.
They killed her.
What Kirsten Dunst was worried about, feared, actually happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it happened before she talked to the president. So if they had a conversation with the president, it would have made that even more
charged.
Yeah. I guess maybe as a writer, I could see it going either way.
Right.
Like, Kirsten Dunst dying is the obvious way to go. The more shocking way is the young up-and-comer. She gets killed. I also found it weird. They didn't really try to save that big fat black dude, did they? No one's putting pressure on his wound or anything. She was sitting in the back seat. She was sitting in the back seat with him, and he's just fucking bleeding out. Like, every movie I've ever seen since the dawn of time, as useless as it is, someone's putting a rag on it. Just stay with us. She was just, like, kind of sitting there, letting them bleed out. And,
yeah, that was a little weird, right?
And the reason he's bleeding out is to save your dumbass, because you wanted to, have some spring break fun and jump in another car while I was smoking. it was strange. There were some strange things. And there's a lot of things in this film. Like, if it just added a line, then it would excuse the fact they don't have helmets. Maybe they lost their helmets, right?
And if they had handled the scene where she jumps in the car differently, to where they both get pulled over at the same time and they don't find them there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then it shows like, well, it wasn't her. It had nothing to do with her. They were both captured at the same time, and that was just, something she had done for whatever reason. Then there's no point to even do, like, I thought the whole jumping in the other car thing was kind of pointless. Like, I felt like the movie would have been better if they had just been captured, and the jumping in the car thing wouldn't have even needed to happen.
Think of it like this. Forget the stupid jumping out of the car back and forth. There's a GI, and he waves them down, and they actually stop. And it picks him up. It's like, wait, can you take me, I had a flat, just take me over the hill, you know what I mean? And then there's a nice conversation where we talk to one of these people. But what you realize, he's with that guy.
Right.
Right? And he's right over here. Just pull on up. Yeah, you meet my commander. Yeah, you guys need rations, whatever. It's kind of a setup.
Right.
Right? Like, that would have been brilliant, because then you get a tense moment of conversation where we get a little bit more of the world through conversation, which leads into a bigger fucking tense moment, right?
Right.
Instead of them doing something stupid, right? Like, I don't know. The film made some weird choices where you're setting up this incredible world. There's so many great little nuggets you can have in this. Why put in a scene from an 80s sex comedy? Or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The moment you drop your guard, then the world snaps on you like a trap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and
you gotta let off steam somehow.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of I think they did a good job of showing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm okay with the way they did it. In fact, I don't even know if I'd want them necessarily to change it. I kind of like the idea that the moment you let your guard down, you're fucked, know?
But what I just suggested could be that moment.
Yeah.
There's a whole conversation. No,
Sure.
don't fucking pick that guy up. Like, but whatever reason they decided to let him in.
Right.
And that's the dropping of the guard.
Well, I just rewatched The Last of Us, and it's funny when I watch that, I feel like everything in that show just feels like a decision that someone would actually make. You know what I mean? Like, it all makes too much sense.
Like you would do that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the person would do there.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is like a little bit funkier, where sometimes you think, oh, why would they even do that? You know what I mean? But at the same time, someone might do that. So I can it's okay. It's okay with me.
What'd you rate Civil War, Mike?
I'm going to give it, because I really liked it, I'm going to give it 4.5 combatants in Hawaiian shirts bleeding out of 5.
I'll give it wait, let me think of. Everything I think of is dark.
Like, just use one of the dark ones. I want to hear a dark one. I want a dark one.
I'm trying to think of it like a quirky, funny thing. Oh, I got it. See? I'll get there. I will give this 4 high fives over a dead president out of 5.
That's pretty good. That is funny and dark. I like that.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
So if you would like to support this show, keep us going, keep us rolling along, uploading content, you can support us by going to patreon.com/baldguysbadmovies and donate to the show. We're going to use those funds to make sure we can see any movies that you guys want to see, and getting our studio set up so we can start recording video and doing these not just audio but also video on YouTube. And once a month, we will pick a patron to choose a movie for us to review, and we'll review it. We'll dedicate it to you. But either way, we just hope you enjoy the show and keep on coming back.
The xenophobia was through the roof, and it didn't take much. The lie pit guy, he's just itching to kill someone.
Their happy place is standing over a fucking rotting corpse,
Well, speaking of rotting corpse, I know what our next film we're going to review.
What?
Scargiver.
Oh, fuck.
Rotting corpse.
Oh, God, no.
I'll include this. This will be the end episode stinger. You really don't want to watch Scargiver, do you? Now we have to watch it.
Oh God.